My ex-wife and I met at the high school she was teaching at, which I attended many years ago. I was invited one year to speak at the commencement. I'm an orthodontist. My wife never signed a prenup at the time. I didn't even consider it. But luckily, I didn't have to pay anything. I've heard so many horror stories of men that make great money and lose it all. I'm no millionaire by any means, but I make significantly more than my ex-wife, especially now since she's lost her job. When I first met my ex-wife, I was very interested. I was still a young, handsome man at 32, just starting my practice with my friend and business partner. Anyway, my ex-wife was gorgeous. The principal introduced me to other speakers and some faculty that day that would be assisting during the commencement. My wife was 27 at the time. Instantly, there was attraction between us both. With my lack of game, as most of you would call it, I didn't flirt. I just kept it professional. But when I started noticing her flirting with me, I couldn't resist. Before the commencement began, I told her we should grab dinner sometime. She, with a smile, said, "Yes." Our first date was one to remember, because I've never had any woman pay on a date before. After, I was asking for the check, but she said she got it. I told her she didn't have to pay for her own food, but she insisted on paying for everything. "Please allow me, it's my pleasure," she said. I was blown away and shocked. We continued dating for months after that, and then became exclusive. It was wonderful. A lot of fun times and amazing memories, but I guess that all changed after 2 decades of marriage. We had 3 girls total, a 24-year-old girl, a 22-year-old girl, and another 20-year-old girl today. Mind you, it was a stressful time for me and the girls getting paternity tests done. Yes, they are all grown, but I was prepared to sue someone if they weren't mine. After raising them their whole lives, even if they weren't biologically mine, I was still going to be their father. My girls hate their mother today and their mother hates me for it, but she brought all of this on herself. She caused this all to happen and ruined everyone's lives. All 3 girls unanimously agree that their mother is disgusting. She ruined the family, and they'll never forgive her for it. Now, I don't believe that they'll never speak to their mother again, especially the youngest. They'll speak to her again. I hope they will. I don't want them to disown their mother because of what she did to me and the family, but still, it's their mother at the end of the day, and they have every right to feel the way that they feel right now, and I don't blame them, and I don't shame them for it either. In 2005, one night in bed, my wife laughed when she said this, "What do you think about an open marriage?" Not saying that I want one, but would you ever do something like that? My response was, "Why would you ask me this?" She said she was just asking because she was curious. I said absolutely not, and asked if she wanted an open marriage. It's so funny hearing all these stories today after doing some searching online and finding video about these things. A lot of these stories resemble my story, at least as far as the initial requests for open relationship or bringing up the topic. But these wives acting as if they have no interest in it is laughable now. So after a while, she brought up the question again, and in return, I asked her what she thought about divorce. She quickly shut up and dropped the topic. Stupid me. I thought I shut it down, but I was wrong. That's a sign of her wanting an open marriage, or she's cheating. Now, do I have evidence that she was cheating at this time? No. I believe she at least wanted to. We're going to fast forward up to the pandemic. This is when I found out everything. I found out my wife had been having an affair with a co-worker, another teacher who was also married. They have been sleeping together for 12 years, 12 freaking years, and I had no idea. My wife even got rid of a child of his because she was sure it was his because apparently, at this time, our bedroom was a little non-existent, which is another lesson for anyone. If you and your wife are not having intimate relations, she's more than likely having it with someone else. I personally never strayed and ever wanted anyone else. I loved my wife. I loved my family. I wasn't going to do anything to ruin that. I read just as many stories where men and husbands were cheating as well, and whenever I read those stories, I say, well, maybe I'm just different. I've always drowned myself into work and my family. When I was able to have my own family, I wasn't interested in any beautiful woman that crossed my path or anyone that worked with me or for me. I didn't look at them that way whether they were single or not. I had a wife and a family, and I respected that. When I said those vows, I meant it. But apparently, my wife did not. The pandemic was a tough time. Business did slow down. At least my office, usual clients will still come in, but I did notice a decline in people coming in overall. It didn't hurt my business at all. We maintained till this day, but just seeing what was going on in the world was a little scary because no one knew what was happening and what was going to happen, and if we were going to make it out of this. My wife kept teaching, but the teaching was done at home. Eventually, she would go into the classroom where some students would be in the school and other students would be at home, and it would switch back and forth, but I caught her cheating when she was fully working at home, teaching from home during summer school. One day, I came home from the office for lunch. Sometimes I would usually do so. I'd come home and prepare lunch. I went home that day. My wife was in our downstairs office giggling and laughing. I thought they're talking about something funny in one of her classes or something. Until I heard her say, "You've always made me smile, but what would I do without you?" I heard it loud and clear. She was in the office, but the doors were open, and she had no idea I was home. I crept over to the side of the door, and I was still listening. You could hear a guy on the other end of the phone, and my wife was just giggling and laughing, and they were flirting. My wife said, "You're going to have to get your wife under control." I was confused and wondering why she would say this, but I continued listening. She then said that she does love her husband with all her heart, but she had needs, and that what I didn't know won't hurt me. That was enough for me to walk into the room and asked who she was talking to. She jumped, turned around, and looked up, and ended the call. I asked who she was talking to, and she said it was a friend, startled and scared. She said it was a coworker, and they were working together for class, that they were discussing some things about work. I asked if she wanted to try that again. I asked her one more time who she was talking, and she sighed and sat silently. Not a single word. I approached her, and she started crying. I asked why she was crying, and she said she was so sorry. I told her I heard everything. I recounted the whole conversation, and I finally asked her who she was cheating with, that I wanted to know immediately. Her reply was, "Honey, please, please." I said, "Please what? It's obvious that you got caught cheating. I want answers." She threw her hands forward as if to tell me to stop. She took this deep breath and said it was Ken. I knew this guy and I've met him. He teaches algebra at their high school. She continued to tell me that she has been having an affair with him, that she was sorry and was going to end it, but she just didn't know how because he loved her, and he really wanted to leave his wife for her. Said she felt bad for him, but felt like she didn't have a choice, that basically, it's not her fault that she cheated on me. I approached her even closer. I was looking down at her while she was sitting down. I said she better hope and pray that my girls are mine, and that we were getting a divorce, and she was getting the F out of my house. She tried to talk, but I quickly left. I went straight to hunting to find a lawyer. It only took a couple days for me to find a lawyer, a great and amazing lawyer that was worth every penny. I told my lawyer that I was going to DNA test my children, and if even just one of them is not mine, I'll be suing the father, and my wife gets nothing from me, not a single and not a dime. And if all children were mine, my youngest at the time was 17 going to 18. If I had to pay for anything, of course I would, but my wife was getting absolutely nothing from me, not even the house. I made this clear to my lawyer that she gets nothing. He made sure this happened. I hired a PI suggested and put together by my lawyer. He stated that we needed evidence of infidelity on my wife's part. He also scolded me and was asking if I had ever cheated on her, abused her, been arrested for DUI. He kept asking me those things, and sometimes in different ways. I now know he just wanted to be sure there was nothing on me to present me as the perfect husband. Of course, no one is perfect, but I can comfortably say I was darn good to my ex-wife. She never wanted anything during the marriage. After speaking with the PI, and me giving permission to search through the computers in my home and anything that was in my home, he discovered emails, secret credit cards, phone number application. Her and this man had been having affairs for years since he started working for the high school in 2009. My wife was pregnant with his baby. He retrieved documents via email stating the appointment to terminate the kid. Everything. I couldn't believe I was sleeping next to someone who was betraying me. Every night we'd kiss each other, say goodnight, that we loved each other. How can someone do those things and carry on an affair like it's nothing? My wife moved out and stayed with her family. All three of my girls were initially upset with me. Her mother told them a completely different story about what happened. I don't know how the heck she thought that lie would keep up, but she told them that I've been mentally abusing her for years, that she did her best to hide it from them, and never wanted either of them to lose their father, so she never filed for divorce. She told them that she had plans to file for divorce once they were all grown and out of the house, and that she was also terrified to divorce me. She said she found comfort in her co-worker, but never slept with him ever, that he had only been a friend to her. My oldest daughter led the three of them when they came home to confront me. My oldest is a very tough cookie. She's a personal trainer and very successful within her industry, but she got in my face and confronted me. She was asking me how dare I abuse their mom like that, and what the F was wrong with me. I said, "Abuse? I never abused your mom." "Who told you that?" My youngest said, "We talked to mom, and she said you've abused her for years," as she burst into tears. I grabbed her to hug her and speak. "Your mother is a god-darn liar. I never abused her." I discovered her affair with her co-worker and evidence that she was pregnant with his child, which she terminated. I filed for divorce, hired a PI, and have all the evidence to prove that I'm telling you the truth and your mother lied to you. My oldest asked for the evidence, and I showed them everything. Messages from some online phone number that she used with him, emails, hotel receipts, secret credit cards, and the documents showing the appointment to terminate the baby. My youngest apologized, but my oldest was even more pissed off. Not at me, though. She was upset with her mother. As she called her, put her on speaker, and scolded her for lying. My ex-wife kept up with her story and claimed I was making things up until my daughter said, "We saw that you terminated the baby you had with your coworker. You said that you never slept with him." My wife got quiet, then hung up the phone. My daughter tried calling multiple times, but my ex-wife never answered. I know. What a freaking coward. I explained to my girls that I love them, and I will always be their father, but how important it is that we get DNA tests done. All of them began to cry. We sat there and hugged, exchanged I love yous, and we all went to sleep that night in agreement that DNA paternity test was a must. We got the results less than 48 hours after the testing that next week. All three were indeed mine. We all cried again when we found out. That time, it was tears of joy. My daughters told me they will be by my side through all of this, and certainly they were. I filed in April of 2020. My divorce wasn't finalized until this past July. 3 whole years, friends. The pandemic slowed things down tremendously. She was unwilling to divorce and delayed the process a couple times. There was a disagreement on terms of settlement. I ended up having to buy her out of the home. No alimony. Of course, no child support. She got nothing from me except me buying her out. All 3 of my girls spoke in my defense when she tried to paint me as this sick abuser who tortured her. I can't believe she tried to do that. I never even remember a time I yelled at my wife. June of 2021. I found out that my ex-wife was terminated along with Ken. Funny enough, around that time, I started to get a bunch of random reviews for my office. Those have been cleared. Such a petty move on their part. She has found another position in a different district. I don't know about Ken. I do know his wife was not going to divorce him. Not my business. Every dime spent on this divorce was well worth it. I'm thankful for my children. Like I said, they absolutely hate their mother, refusing to see her during holidays, and my ex-wife is very depressed about it. She sees a therapist that tried to get my ex-wife to bring our daughters into a session, but they all refused. My youngest did consider it and thought maybe they should, but the other two talked her out of it. Like I said, I'm sure my youngest probably will be the first to make things right with her mother if she's not doing it already behind everyone's back. She's for sure a mama's girl. Young men, use my story to learn from. Don't make mistakes like ignoring your wife's open marriage request. She literally is telling you she's done with you. I have no idea if my wife ever cheated on me before that night she brought up the open marriage discussion, and I'll probably never know. I do know about the 12-year affair, and that was more than enough to end my marriage. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Until next time, I'll see you again. Take care.